Hello. I just wanted to have a quick word because I've just made the terrible, terrible error of going on Facebook. I was having a very productive session. I was just typing away at an article, and I've got to the conclusion, and I wanted to have a quick pause before I do my conclusion because it's always hard to think of what to say. So yeah, I made the fatal error. I went on Facebook, which is a mistake. I mean, there's no point. Why am I on Facebook? It died to death years ago. And then I made the even more fatal error of clicking on their newsfeed. I saw that what was trending on the sidebar was a story about Kim Kardashian visiting Kanye West in hospital. And I thought, yeah, that's kind of interesting. So I like talking about Kim Kardashian in class. She's always very marketing zeitgeisty as a case study. And anyway, this story, if you're familiar with it, Kanye West currently is in hospital for exhaustion, I think is the term. And of course, exhaustion is celebrity PR speak for anything ranging from, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit tired, I've got a slight sore throat, I'm a bit bored of my current tour and want to stop, through massive drug overdose, addiction, withdrawal type situations, to full-on psychotic episodes, mental breakdown type situations. Now, I'm not sure which one of these Kanye is experiencing, possibly all three. He seems like a fairly fragile guy that suffers from delusions of grandeur, narcissism, many emotional and psychological problems, like a lot of talented people, of course, do. I'm not disputing that he's very talented and he's an interesting guy. And he must surely be quite exhausted because being famous is very intense. I do not envy people that have his level of fame. It must be awful. Very stressful, very difficult. So this poor guy is having problems, is in hospital. His wife, Kim, is, of course, visiting him in hospital. There you go. It's not a particularly interesting story. However, people seem to be interpreting this quite deeply, and it goes back to sort of traditional conspiracy type theory situations. I'm just going to read to you the post by somebody called Emily Collins. It's Emily with two Y's, which is an interesting spelling. So, Emily, I've got two words for y'all, MK Ultra. Now, I'm not sure what MK Ultra is, but I do see references to it quite often, so I'm presuming it's like the Illuminati, shape-shifting lizards, the Jews, bankers, whatever it is, it's one of them go-tos for conspiracy theorists. Kanye seems like he's trying to expose shit because he's tired of it, but people don't want the truth. They're used to being lied to. This is all in caps lock, by the way, with many exclamation marks, but I'm editing those out for brevity. Also, what happens every time a celeb tries to expose shit, they get put in rehab, or they overdosed, or are on drugs, or have a mental illness. I mean, yeah, wasn't Demi Lovato recently in rehab for things? I don't know whether she was like freedom fighting for anything in particular, or Amanda Bynes. I mean, that just seems like weed was the issue there. I mean, it could have been the Illuminati. I'll bear with you, Emily. Carry on, girl. Bruh, if this world don't wake the fuck up, people like Kid Cudi, Kanye do music for the passion, but if you can't do that anymore, it's all just about the money and control and power. I stand with him on this. Y'all just want music that's made to send you to hell, Jays. Open up your ears and eyes and listen for once. All of you who don't understand are just the controlled sheep in this world. Some of you are too brainwashed to even understand. Sad but true. I stand with Kanye. So, okay, Emily. There you go. Now, I don't want to pick on Emily unnecessarily because there are many of those. After you get past the first two or three stories, which are, traditional celebrity bollocks gossip on TMZ and stuff, which I like indulging in occasionally, it's just conspiracy post after conspiracy post after conspiracy post. All of them saying the same thing, which is that Kanye is trying to expose something, some form of conspiracy, that, Beyonce and Jay-Z are world-leading Illuminati figures, whatever it is, the government's trying to control us all, etc., etc., etc. And if you think that it's just that a volatile celebrity is having a bit of a minor breakdown of some sort and has had to go to hospital to recover, you're a sheep. You're a sheep. And they always are then very aggressive and very insulting, all these conspiracy theory people, telling all the rest of us that we're stupid, blind followers, and that we need to wake up, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. What I would like to say in a quick response is that all these conspiracy theorists, I think, maybe need to just step back and stop. Just chill, okay? Just calm down. I, on the one hand, am very, very impressed by your ability to do research on the internet. I mean, to construct a lot of these conspiracy theories, it really takes some quite elaborate research skills. You have to look into sort of very fringe, strange websites and speak to some very hard to find, quite unusual people to construct these sort of things. You know, you recruit tweets from sort of quite extremist preachers. You go on to sort of like the dark web and find very odd documents. You look through some really fringe news sources that are only available on certain servers, and you construct very elaborate, sort of beautiful stories. I read one once that Joan Rivers was murdered by the American government and the Illuminati and the Jews, although she was always quite a prominent Jewish campaigner, for exposing that Michelle Obama was actually a man. She did once make a joke about Michelle looking like a tranny. And therefore she was murdered, because you can't, that would have shown that Barack was gay, which he actually is, and she really is this, and he would have not been able to be president. Which, I guess there's a very faint possibility that that was the case. There is a slightly more possibility that an 80-year-old woman undergoing yet another plastic surgery procedure with an unlicensed plastic surgeon who should have been struck off and has been struck off and then died on the operating table, maybe that's more likely, or it could have been a CIA plot. I agree. So whilst I admire these people's endeavours, I'm afraid that I can't respect their output. The stuff these conspiracy theorists come up with is really outrageous and it's crazy. And when it's just lingering around on the internet, who cares? It doesn't really matter. But I think the problem is this sort of stuff is now becoming more and more mainstream. It's being actually accepted that this crazy stuff is the truth, and that the stuff that people say, that scientists say, that experts, that politicians, that media commentators, that journalists, reporters, academics, all these people are either stupid sheep that are not understanding what's really going on, or, even worse, they're deliberately part of the conspiracy. They're actively involved in these conspiracies and they're promoting them. Which, as an academic who spends his life trying to weigh up evidence from different sources and from a diversity of sources, because we appreciate that all sources are, of course, flawed, and they are, of course, biased and limited, and they may, of course, make mistakes and overlook things. I'm flawed, I'm biased, I'm limited, I make mistakes. But also, I don't think, we don't try and make claims to perfection. We don't try and say that we know the truth, that, believe us or you're a bunch of sheep, or, you're idiots and stuff. I think as an academic, my life is spent trying to weigh up different pieces of information, trying to consider their value, trying to consider how impartial they are, how much quality they have, how reliable they are, how accurate they are, and then sort of putting them together into a well-informed view of the world. And that's important. That's what being an academic involves. That's what being a student involves. That's what learning and education involves. And I think all this conspiracy stuff is getting a bit out of hand. It's leaking from the internet into the real world, and people are voting for all sorts of bonkers fringe parties. Sadly, the conspiracies, they're not even nice. They're not usually, peaceful and cheerful. They're often very aggressive. They're often very racially tinged. They tend to be very aggressive towards minorities, particularly the Jews, get picked on over and over again. I also don't think that they're helpful. Spending your whole time on the internet feeling very angry, mashing your keyboard, breaking the exclamation mark key and having to buy a new laptop every few months because you must really max that out. It's not good. It's not a good use of your time. It's not productive. It isn't good for your blood rate. And it doesn't make you a very nice person. It doesn't make you very employable. It doesn't make you very tolerant and open-minded. It doesn't make you very well-informed. It doesn't make you very intelligent. There are a lot of theories about conspiracy theories that this is done by people who are feeling stressed, who aren't feeling happy, who aren't feeling very confident, and they do it because this gives them a chance to make themselves feel better, because they can claim that they know stuff that nobody else knows, and that everybody else is stupid, everybody else is a sheep, everybody else is negative and is involved in these conspiracies, apart from them and the few brave freedom fighters that are lingering around the fringes of the internet, and increasingly everywhere in the world. God, 2016 is awful. And I do feel very sorry for you if you feel pushed into that corner, and that's very sad. And of course, we all go through periods of our life where we're unhappy and where we're depressed. But I think it's important to try and stay positive, to try and work through these things, to try to, look on the bright side of life, to try and be nice to each other, to try and stay grounded a bit in reality. Reality is tough, reality is grim, but it's still good a lot of the time. There's a lot of nice things in the world, and life, even when it's hard, has a lot of good things in it. So, if you're a conspiracy theorist, maybe just take some time off. Just stop for a bit, lay off the internet, and do something nice. Go for a nice walk, because nature, through thick and thin, is lovely. There is no conspiracy in a tree turning brown and gold and red in autumn. It's just a lovely thing that I think we can all agree upon. And for those of us who are academics and students and scientists, I think it's important that we carry on doing research that is well-rounded, that is carefully thought through and considered, that we are open-minded, and that we do tolerate all these different views and opinions, including ones which can seem sometimes challenging, and which of course can seem a bit extreme and fringe at times, but actually might have some quite interesting and insightful comments to make. I'm not dismissing you guys on the fringes of the internet, of course. It's always worth considering other people's opinions. But at the same time, that we try to look at sources, we try to consider them carefully. We don't believe in things like the Facebook algorithm, because that is very, very flawed. We don't necessarily listen to people that are just tweeting towards each other and writing angry comments with lots of exclamation marks. And that maybe we try to, have some faith in experts and rationality. Not perfect, but, I think, Right. Thank you very much, everyone. That was too long, I apologise.